Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, my dear brothers and sisters. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There are moments in history when something extraordinary begins to happen, quietly, unexpectedly, almost silently. And unless you pause and look closely, you might miss it. Today, in the heart of Europe, in a land where Islam once flourished and then disappeared for 5 centuries, something remarkable is happening again. People are waking up in Spain, but not to a trend, not to a movement, not to a social shift, rather to a truth their souls had long forgotten. Why are thousands of hearts softening? Why are so many Spaniards turning toward a faith that once seemed lost in their land? Why now, after 500 years? This is not a story of numbers. This is not a story of politics. This is a story of hearts. A story of guidance, a story written by Allah Himself. And as you listen, I want you to reflect, not just on Spain, not just on history, but on the incredible power of truth when it reaches a heart that is searching. Stay with me until the end, because what is happening in Spain today carries a message for every one of us, a reminder that when Allah wills, even a land that has been silent for centuries can echo with faith once more. Let's begin. The spiritual curiosity rising in post-Christian Spain is not something that happened overnight. It is a slow awakening, a quiet shift within hearts that have been searching for something deeper than what the modern world offers. For decades, Spain has moved further away from traditional religious practice. Churches have emptied, and younger generations often distance themselves from institutional religion. Yet deep inside, the human soul needs meaning. It needs an anchor, a purpose, a reason to wake up in the morning. When that meaning is not found in society, people begin to look elsewhere. And that elsewhere is often the place where Allah guides them gently, step by step, until they find Him. Many Spaniards describe a feeling of inner restlessness, something missing, something unsettled. They live in a society where everything is fast, everything is external, and everything is about achieving, consuming, and moving on. But the soul cannot be fed by material things. A person can have entertainment, comfort, freedom, and opportunities, yet still feel empty inside. This emptiness becomes more visible in a society that has lost its spiritual center. When there is no belief in accountability, no concept of divine purpose, no understanding of the hereafter, life becomes shallow and people begin to question, who am I? Why am I here? What is the purpose of all this? In this search, many stumble upon Islam, not as a religion imposed by culture or tradition, but as a personal discovery. They often encounter the Qur'an for the first time, not in a classroom or church, but online, through a friend, or through a simple moment of curiosity. And when they read it with an open mind, they feel something different. They find a message that speaks directly to the human heart, a message of clarity, mercy, justice, and purpose. It answers the very questions they were struggling with. They read about a God who is near, who responds, who forgives, who guides, who understands the pain of the human being. This is something many had never experienced before. Another reason for this spiritual curiosity is the exhaustion produced by excessive individualism. Modern society celebrates personal freedom, but often ignores the loneliness and confusion that come with it. Many young people in Spain feel disconnected from their families, from tradition, from community, and even from themselves. Islam, on the other hand, offers belonging. It offers structure. It offers a community built on worship, kindness, respect, and moral grounding. It gives a person a place where they feel seen, not by society, but by their Creator. The spiritual curiosity in Spain is also shaped by the presence of Muslims living among them. When Spaniards see Muslims praying, fasting, giving charity, respecting their parents, avoiding alcohol, and living with discipline, they begin to wonder what gives them this strength. What gives them this peace? Why are they so grounded in their identity when everyone else seems confused? These silent observations awaken questions in hearts that are already searching for something more. There is also a growing awareness of mental and emotional struggles, anxiety, depression, loneliness, that medicine cannot fully explain and society cannot fully fix. And when people realize that external solutions cannot heal internal wounds, they begin searching for a spiritual remedy. Islam offers a direct connection to God, without intermediaries, rituals, or complications. This simplicity attracts the soul. It removes the confusion and invites the heart toward peace. Slowly, quietly, people are turning toward God. Not because they were forced, not because of culture, but because their hearts finally recognize what they were longing for. They explore Islam not out of pressure, but out of curiosity. Curiosity that is fueled by a deep inner need for truth, meaning, and spiritual fulfillment. This is the awakening happening in Spain today. The increasing access to authentic Islamic knowledge has become one of the most powerful reasons behind the rise of Islam in Spain today. For centuries, information about Islam in Europe passed through political narratives, historical biases, or media portrayals that rarely reflected the true essence of the faith. People only heard about Islam through conflict, stereotypes, or misunderstandings, and very few had the chance to approach it directly with an open heart and unbiased mind. But the world has changed. Technology has removed barriers that once kept people distant from the Qur'an and from genuine Islamic teachings. Now a person in any corner of Spain can open their phone, search for a verse from the Qur'an, listen to a lecture, or interact with Muslims online, and this direct exposure opens doors that were closed for centuries. One of the most profound transformations is the availability of the Qur'an in Spanish. High-quality translations, accessible explanations, and online recitations allow people to experience the Book of Allah for themselves without filters. Many who read the Qur'an expecting to find harshness or rigidity are shocked to discover its gentleness, its emotional depth, its wisdom, and its timeless guidance. They read verses about mercy, forgiveness, justice, balance, family, humility, and accountability, and they begin to question the negative image they were taught. The Qur'an speaks to the heart in a way that nothing else does, and once a heart experiences that clarity, it becomes difficult to return to confusion. Another major factor is the presence of Islamic scholars and speakers online offering knowledge in a way that is accessible, compassionate, and rooted in the authentic teachings of the Prophet. Spaniards, especially youth, find themselves captivated by the calmness, logic, and beauty in these teachings. They learn that Islam is not a religion of rituals without meaning, but a complete way of life grounded in purpose. They discover the stories of the prophets, the wisdom of the companions, and the spiritual practices that purify the heart. Many express surprise that Islam encourages thinking, reflecting, learning, and self-improvement. This breaks stereotypes and invites deeper exploration. Social media platforms have also become silent bridges of dawah. Short videos, reminders, personal stories of converts, and simple explanations of Islamic morals are reaching thousands who may have never heard of Islam otherwise. When a Spaniard listens to someone from their own country explaining why they accepted Islam, speaking their language, sharing their struggles, and describing their transformation, the message becomes personal. It becomes relatable. It becomes real. These stories carry a powerful influence because people trust lived experiences more than theoretical information. The growth of Muslim communities in Spain also contributes to this access. When a curious person sees Muslims practicing their faith with humility and consistency, they naturally begin asking questions. Many converts describe that their journey began with simple interactions at work, at school, in the neighborhood, or in universities. A Muslim colleague who does not lie, a friend who treats others with respect, a student who prays even when others don't understand. These moments become practical lessons about Islam. They provide clarity that books alone cannot offer. Authentic knowledge is also dismantling misinformation. People are learning the true meanings of concepts once poorly translated or misunderstood, such as jihad, hijab, sharia, and submission to God. They realize that what they were told for years was incomplete or incorrect. This realization creates a deep desire to know the truth directly, not through the lens of politics or media. When people access knowledge themselves, their hearts change. They see Islam as a faith of mercy, order, wisdom, and tranquility. They see its teachings as a remedy for the confusion of modern life. They find answers to questions about purpose, suffering, morality, and destiny. And once they taste authentic knowledge, they cannot unsee the truth. This is why access to genuine Islamic teachings has become one of the strongest forces behind the rise of Islam in Spain today. The historical connection to Al-Andalus is one of the most powerful and emotionally stirring reasons behind the renewed interest in Islam across Spain. For nearly 8 centuries, Islamic civilization flourished on Iberian soil, shaping the culture, architecture, science, philosophy, and identity of the region in ways that continue to echo through history. Even after 500 years, the traces of Al-Andalus have not faded. In fact, they have begun to shine more clearly as modern Spaniards rediscover the depth and sophistication of the civilization that once lived in their own backyard. This rediscovery is awakening curiosity, admiration, and in some hearts a longing to understand Islam not as a foreign religion, but as part of their own forgotten heritage. When people walk through the streets of Cordoba and enter the mezquita, they are confronted with the undeniable beauty and spiritual aura of Islamic architecture. The arches, the calligraphy, the symmetry, and the light all reflect a civilization deeply rooted in faith and knowledge. Even those who know nothing about Islam feel something when they stand in these spaces. Many describe a sense of calmness, an unexplained attraction, or a feeling of connection to something ancient and profound. The same happens at the Alhambra in Granada, a masterpiece of Islamic art where Quranic verses are carved into the walls, reminding visitors of a time when God consciousness guided creativity. These physical reminders stir questions in people's hearts. Who were these Muslims? How did they build such beauty? What inspired them? What did they believe? As historians, researchers, and scholars continue to uncover the achievements of Al-Andalus, Spaniards are learning that this Islamic civilization was not a period of darkness but a golden era of knowledge, coexistence, and progress. They read about scientists like Ibn Rushd and Al-Zarawi, philosophers, mathematicians, poets, and astronomers who shaped the intellectual history of Europe. They discover that the foundations of modern surgery, mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy were developed or preserved by Muslims living in Spain. This revelation causes many to look at Islam through a new lens, not as a threat or a stranger, but as a source of wisdom and advancement. Another major factor is the narrative of convivencia, the historical period when Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived together with relative harmony, sharing ideas, trading knowledge, and contributing collectively to society. Although not perfect, it stands in sharp contrast to the narrative of conflict that dominates modern perceptions. For many Spaniards, learning about this coexistence inspires respect and curiosity. It offers a model of how societies can thrive when guided by justice, humility, and shared purpose. The more people learn about Al-Andalus, the more they feel that a part of their identity was erased. Some even describe the reconnection with this past as reclaiming a missing chapter of their own story. This feeling becomes even stronger when Spaniards learn that many families today, especially in southern regions, have ancestry tracing back to Muslims who once lived, built, loved, and worshipped in the same places they walk today. That realization opens a door inside the heart, a door that leads to questions about heritage, faith, and identity. When a person feels that a religion was once part of their land, their culture, and possibly their own lineage, it becomes easier for them to explore it with an open mind. This historical connection also creates a sense of respect for Islam. It dismantles the idea that Islam is foreign or incompatible with European culture. Instead, it proves that Islam once contributed immensely to Europe's intellectual and cultural development. It shows that Muslims lived in Spain not as outsiders, but as architects of civilization. This truth softens hearts and encourages people to look at Islam without fear or prejudice. As Spain rediscovers its past, many hearts are rediscovering Islam, not as something new, but as something familiar, something that once brought light, knowledge, and beauty to their land. And this emotional, intellectual, and historical awakening is becoming a powerful bridge leading people back to the message of Islam. The growing Muslim communities in Spain and the positive interactions people have with them are becoming some of the strongest reasons for the rise of Islam in the country. In a world where faith is often judged through stereotypes or media narratives, the quiet, consistent behavior of ordinary Muslims is creating a new and authentic understanding of Islam. One based not on headlines but on real human experience. When people see Muslims living their daily lives with dignity, humility, and purpose, it triggers curiosity. It softens preconceived ideas. It opens a door to understanding that no book or lecture alone can achieve. Many Spaniards first encounter Islam not through texts or debates, but through personal relationships. A Muslim co-worker who never cheats or lies even when no one is watching, a neighbor who greets them every morning with a smile, offers help or shares food during Ramadan. A student who prays quietly between classes and never compromises their principles. These small, simple actions reflect the character shaped by Islamic teachings. And when people witness this consistency over time, they begin to ask questions about the source of such discipline and sincerity. They start to see that Islam is not just a religion, it is a way of living that forms a person's identity from the inside out. Another reason this keynote has become so influential is the contrast between the moral compass Islam provides and the moral confusion many societies face today. Modern life in Spain, like many other parts of Europe, is fast-paced, individualistic, and increasingly disconnected from family, tradition, and community. In this environment, Muslims practicing their faith visibly stand out. Their sense of modesty, responsibility, family values, and respect for elders becomes noticeable. These values are not just admired, but sometimes deeply missed by those who feel their own society has drifted away from such principles. The presence of Muslims becomes a reminder that purpose, structure, and discipline still exist in a modern world. The character of Muslims also becomes most impactful during times of crisis. When a tragedy strikes, whether a neighbor loses a loved one, a co-worker faces hardship, or a community experiences difficulty, Muslims often respond with compassion, patience, and a sense of responsibility toward others. When people witness Muslims offering support without expecting anything in return, they see a live demonstration of Islamic teachings about charity, kindness, and caring for one another. These moments leave lasting impressions, sometimes stronger than any theological argument. Another significant aspect is the growing number of Spanish converts to Islam. Their presence itself becomes dawah. When a Spaniard meets someone from their own culture who has chosen Islam after studying it, it breaks the misconception that Islam is only for certain ethnicities or regions. These converts speak the language, understand the cultural context, and explain their journey in a way that resonates with locals. For many Spaniards, seeing someone like themselves embrace Islam is far more powerful than any book or historical reference. It makes Islam feel accessible, relatable, and real. Additionally, the discipline of Muslims, whether through fasting in Ramadan, praying 5 times a day, or maintaining halal ethics, often inspires admiration. People see Islam producing individuals who are principled, resilient, and spiritually anchored. This is especially meaningful in a society where many people struggle with identity, purpose, and stability. The calmness and certainty Muslims display in their faith become a silent invitation to explore what gives them that inner peace. Interactions also challenge misconceptions. Someone who thought Islam was harsh sees Muslims practicing gentleness. Someone who believed Islam suppresses women meets Muslim women who are educated, confident, and articulate. Someone who assumed Islam is rigid discovers Muslims who live balanced, compassionate lives. Every positive interaction becomes a correction, a lesson, and sometimes the beginning of a spiritual journey. In the end, the presence of Muslims in Spain is not only reshaping how Islam is viewed, it is touching hearts. Through character, behavior, and everyday kindness, Muslims are becoming living reflections of their faith. And for many Spaniards, this authentic experience is their first real introduction to Islam, and the reason they begin to explore it with sincerity and openness. What we are witnessing in Spain today is not simply a rise in numbers or a shift in demographics. It is something far deeper, more meaningful, and more spiritual. After 500 years, hearts are awakening again. Not because of force, politics, or influence, but because Allah guides whom He wills, when He wills, and how He wills. A new generation is searching for truth, and when they search sincerely, Allah opens doors. They read the Qur'an and find clarity. They discover their history and feel connection. They meet Muslims and see faith lived beautifully, and suddenly Islam no longer feels foreign. It feels familiar, comforting, and true. The story of Spain today is a reminder to all of us that guidance is in the hands of Allah, and the light of Islam can return to any land when hearts are ready. It teaches us that our responsibility is to live our faith with sincerity, humility, and wisdom, because even one good example can change a life, a family, or even a nation. Spain rising again is not a coincidence. It is a sign that the truth always returns and that Allah's guidance reaches every heart willing to receive it. Thank you so much for trusting me with your content and your vision. May Allah put barakah in your work, bless your voice, and make your platform a source of guidance, healing, and inspiration for many hearts. I wish you the very best in your journey. May every word you share bring goodness to others and reward to you. Good luck, and thank you from the heart.